Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being with us today. We're broadcasting live from Park City, Utah. And just a heads up, it's storming like crazy here. So if we bounce out because I lose internet, then you'll know why, and then we'll just come back on. I don't think that's going to happen, but just in case. So again, thank you for being with us. Ian, where are you?
I'm in northern suburbs of Chicago.
Northern suburbs of Chicago. So just a little Zoom housekeeping. As you know, we can't hear or see you, but we know you're there. And so we suggest that as your questions come to mind, please post them in the chat box of the Q&A. We have a lot of people coming on today, and so we'll get to as many as possible as we go along. But be sure to, as your questions come to mind, to post them to the chat box in the Q&A. Also, we're going to be recording this, and so post-webinar, you'll be able to see the recording if you care to visit it. And I would also suggest that you feel free that after you see what Ian's going to talk about today, that if there's others in your community and your network and your friends that would find this interesting, there's no barrier between you connecting directly with Ian and his organization to talk about that opportunity. Just to be super clear, we're here to raise money. I'm sure we can talk about business development as well, but the objective today is to raise money for Ian. Our really good friends at SteelBridge brought this opportunity to Family Office Insights and the Family Office Insights investor community, so we're grateful for that. So we're going to chat a little bit about the background and history, and then we're going to go into the deck. And again, feel free to post your questions as they come to mind. So thank you again for being here today. Ian, take it away. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, Arthur, thanks for having me. Excited to talk to everybody today as we explore Exchangelodge and explore really the exciting investment opportunity, especially getting involved in really what is a changing and transforming industry. We focus in the private capital market space. So as a private and family office investor investing in private capital, this is hopefully going to be issues that really resonate with you all. I'll talk about my background a little bit further as we get into the deck here, but what's interesting, I was actually Exchangelodge's first client. Exchangelodge was founded within SteelBridge, who's an industry-leading private equity technology company. I was over at a firm called GCM Grosvenor, one of the world's largest asset managers in alternatives, and we wound up partnering with Exchangelodge to solve some pretty critical problems, and we'll dive into that, because what we found since I've come over to Exchangelodge is the problems that we were solving are really applicable to the marketplace. We've been able to get great traction with industry-leading firms to solve some of their most fundamental and critical operation and data challenges that we have. So I'll make sure to answer questions as they come in. Please don't hesitate to do so. As much as this can be a dialogue, as much as it can, is certainly appreciated. But I appreciate everybody taking the time today. And we've got a few minutes here. I think I'm going to probably dive in and get going. There's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to discuss, and happy that everybody's here with me today. So as I mentioned, I was a leader for one of the largest alternative investment firms, and I really struggled managing the data associated with private markets. And the reason is the data is so complex and unruly. We didn't have the technical resources or the operational staff to handle it. The truth is, few firms really do. We had a concept of ideas of how technology could help us, but we needed outside support. And it was at that time that we learned of Exchangelodge and were really impressed with the team's experience and their vision. They had a vision for the private equity industry on where it can go and how it could be better. So we partnered with them. And the firm that I used to lead is now experiencing great results from that project. They have over 700% efficiency gain in the processes that we helped automate and are delivering their client reports 25% faster. It was that event that actually catapulted Exchangelodge to where it is today, and which is serving a variety of industry-leading private markets firms across the spectrum. Our power is data integration and validation. However, our value is providing private market participants the tools to maximize their investment returns and improve employee satisfaction. We're going to dig into that deeper in a moment. But I think to make the mental picture, you can think of Exchangelodge a little bit like a spell checker, but for private markets data. So in a spell checker, you references grammatical rules and spelling errors. It tells you about tone of voice concerns and presents you with potential mistakes. We use algorithms and business rules to bring together this diverse private markets data, clean it, and highlight potential errors requiring additional review. In both cases, the technology makes you smarter. In a spell checker's case, it's how effectively you communicate. In our case, it's how effectively you make critical investment decisions. Exchangelodge is the first solution that enables clients with both automation and control of vital private markets workflows, part operational, part collaborative, all data-driven. With Exchangelodge, clients operate at the top of their game. Their data is aggregated across systems, data is rigorously validated, and the people, the company's most valuable asset, are free to focus on more value-added tasks. So we're going to unpack this all in a moment, but it's important to recognize that private markets data is growing exponentially, and the challenges faced today are only accelerating. By investing today, you'll be participating in this paradigm shift of how private markets data is exchanged and contribute to how successful investors are maximizing their returns. So let's talk about those.
Hey, Ian,
go ahead.
Even though many might know the company that you were with prior to this,
Sure.
Could you just talk about that significance of the size and scale of that company, which created the problem that you solved?
Yeah, certainly. So we'll talk about this case study a little bit coming up, but I was at a firm called GCM Grosvenor. For those of you who aren't familiar, GCM Grosvenor is a 70 billion plus alternative asset manager with another 300 to 400 billion in assets under administration, publicly traded firm, and had significant challenges managing private capital data, managing data from administrators, managing the needs of their investor community, managing the information that they were getting from the underlying investments that they were investing in. And so the partnership with Exchangelodge really was a catalyst for us transforming our data into a corporate strategic asset. We partnered with Exchangelodge because we recognized that we needed to take control of our data, but didn't want to simply throw manpower at it, wanted to leverage automation, wanted to leverage best practices and technology to get there. And we're really successful in doing so. So I was so obviously committed to the value proposition that was introduced with Exchangelodge as I decided to leave Grosvenor after a 20-year career there in the middle of the pandemic to come to Exchangelodge and take the concepts that we had incubated collectively with Exchangelodge and bring that to the marketplace. So we, like many firms, we're tackling the challenges that you see here on the slide. And so let me share. I just realized I wasn't sharing my screen, so apologies for that.
That's all right. It's you got the message across.
Yeah, right. But I think it's important to think about, essentially, if you think about where we are today in the private capital industry, we basically have 10,000 plus firms out there with no plan on how to deal with the current market environment. And let's talk about that environment. Number one, the industry is growing at a tremendous pace. There's over $7 trillion in private markets capital today. Meaning also data volumes are increasing tremendously. More than half of operating partners aren't leveraging data-driven approaches to make decisions. Furthermore, the investors aren't trusting data, right? Investors are asking for more information while doing due diligence. They're asking for more detailed reporting. Whether you're an institutional investor or a high net worth individual, you're looking for more and more transparency. And so there is a tremendous opportunity within the private capital space to grow, to scale. The issue is firms aren't positioned to take advantage of that opportunity. There's too much data coming at them, right? They're being overwhelmed. The historical methods of throwing manpower are simply insufficient. Secondly, there's no control. We all live in a control-based environment. Compliance is a significant issue. Transparency is a very important need. There's very little data governance. And there's a ton of systems. So even if you have technology, the data is very disconnected and very isolated, leaving it extremely difficult to get your arms around data. It's extraordinarily painful and causes tremendous amount of ineffectiveness within organizations. Exchangelodge is here to help. Exchangelodge is actually changing the way the private capital market industry manages, validates, and exchanges information and data. And we're doing that in 3 simple ways. I mean, it's a very complex under the hood, but at its face value, we're automating the connection of that data, connecting this information into a single unified cohesive source. As we're bringing that data together, we're validating the data, ensuring that it's trustworthy, ensuring that you don't have to check it over and over and over and over again. And thirdly, we're automating the workflows. So we're bringing in technology to fulfill the manual processes that are eating up a tremendous amount of time. So that's all great, but why is that really important to these firms? So we've talked about scale. Scale becomes front in mind when talking about these things. Scale from whether you've raised fund 3 and suddenly looking to raise fund 4. Scale from margin maximization and efficiencies, so you're able to perform more operational tasks more effectively. And obviously efficiency associated with that. Transparency. People looking for data are looking for it because they're trying to understand the information better. And it's coming from every direction. Investors are looking for increased transparency. The management teams are looking for increasing transparency. The investment teams, those doing the due diligence, operating partners, everyone is looking for increased data transparency. And around all of this is a risk environment that is truly important. There are a tremendous amount of risky practices that are being executed. People are keying in data multiple times. Questions are taking too long to answer, right? People are changing data in Excel without having the appropriate permissions to do things. At the end of the day, there's missed opportunities to maximize the optimal outcomes for businesses. But Exchangelodge is not only fixing this on paper, we're getting real results in the clients that we've implemented. So we talked a bit about the experience with Grosvenor, which we'll dig into again in a moment. But we have recognized at one client a 700% increase in process efficiency, where one accountant used to be able to handle 7 portfolios at the end of a month. Now that same accountant is managing over 50 portfolios. That's tremendous. Again, we had a client that was able to take 25% of the staff that was performing a reconciliation task and reallocate that to higher value work. You talk about, employee satisfaction. What a lot of these private equity firms are recognizing is they're hiring this top end talent out of Ivy League schools, and then they're asking them to do this basic remedial tasks, which dramatically lowers job satisfaction and ultimately leads to churn and turnover in staff, which is extraordinarily expensive. And these private equity firms are letting this really powerful, high value resources walk out the door because they've been asked to do this remedial work. We're able to change that. In fact, we have one client, and you can see here in the middle here, Steve Skolnick, who's the Chief Technology Officer at Portfolio Advisors, talked about how implementing Exchangelodge was able to transition his team from data laborers to data managers. And that's tremendous if you think about it. So let's just talk a little bit about how we did that. So we have one of our solutions is to help automate the review and approval of capital account statements that come from private equity investments every quarter. Before, his team was manually typing in data and then reviewing it in Excel spreadsheets over and over and over. Every single piece of data had to be reviewed and re-reviewed and re-reviewed and re-reviewed. With Exchangelodge, the data is automatically brought into the system and automatically interrogated, where we simply, like a spell checker, highlight the data that might be wrong based upon our business rules and the algorithms that we have within our system, immediately transforming his team to an exception-driven oversight process where they're only looking at the couple of data points that might be problematic, freeing them up to do all the analysis that they wanted to do on that data initially. We've also implemented really strong results at other industry leaders like Asia Alternatives and GCM Grosvenor. We're working with market-leading fund administrators who are serving a lot of these clients. Again, partnering with some of the best and most innovative firms in the industry, bringing their ideas and best practices into our product and offering that broadly to the marketplace. So let's get a little under the hood and talk about how Exchangelodge does that. It's a little hard to call yourselves a data integration platform without automating data flow. So the first thing that we do is help bring all this data together. No matter where the data is coming from, whether it's a spreadsheet or a system or a database, the data can all flow into a single spot within Exchangelodge. Once we have all that data, that's where the real power of our business rules engine and algorithms interrogate that data, look for data anomalies, look for potential data errors, and highlight those data errors. We then facilitate the workflow of review and approval and updating those errors and cleaning it and fixing it, all while doing that in a control-based environment. So if you look at Excel and Outlook, which is basically the de facto standard that most people are using today, that's essentially the Wild West. Anyone can change any data. You don't know why anyone's changing the information. You've got no real transparency or auditability into that data at all. Exchangelodge solves that by creating a unified singular location with clear control and governance programs where your processes are facilitated by the technology, offering tremendous efficiency gain and tremendous data transparency that was never available before. Let's talk a little bit about how we came here. So I think one of the things that everyone speaks about how kind of impressive and great their team is, and I obviously feel the same way about Exchangelodge. I think the difference with Exchangelodge is not only do we have a group of dedicated, extremely talented folks, we have extraordinary amount of industry expertise. So we are the first bringing this data technology expertise and private capital markets expertise together in a unified solution. So as I mentioned up front, Exchangelodge was founded by SteelBridge Labs, and SteelBridge is a leading private equity technology consulting firm. They were out in the marketplace talking to many of their clients, recognizing common problems of data and data workflow around their client base. At the same time, GCM Grosvenor was looking at data as a more strategic asset of their firm and shared Exchangelodge's vision and SteelBridge's vision for what the future of the industry should look like. At that time, I joined Exchangelodge's board, and we had a 2-year exclusivity period where Grosvenor partnered with Exchangelodge to really bring to life this concept. In 2020, I joined Exchangelodge as the CEO to really take this concept and bring it to the marketplace. And then since then, we've really built out a very impressive team of leaders. We have a head of engineering who's built a small startup through large private equity acquisition. We've brought a business development lead who's been in this industry, who's worked at many of the marketplace leaders, who's an expert in understanding how this technology can change the lives of our clients. And we feel really proud that we have this expertise is shared not only with our clients, but also brings in the expertise to build a better product and change the marketplace. But our market strategy is actually multifaceted. You know, one of the things that we look to tackle is recognizing that our client base has a very broad sophistication spectrum. So for example, the firm that I used to be at, we had $70 billion asset management firm. We had about 60 people in our technology department. Very sophisticated firm we built a tremendous amount of custom applications. But there's other firms that I'm well aware of. There's a firm here in Chicago with 100 billion under management with only 4 technology professionals. And that just shows you the breadth of investment that these firms have made in technology historically. And so our goal is to be able to solve the needs across that spectrum. It starts with what we consider packaged solutions, which are for those that just want out-of-the-box answers to common problems. So whether that be collecting the statements, as we talked about, or if you're leveraging a fund administrator and you need to review and approve that data on a regular basis, or if you're collecting ESG data or underlying information from portfolio companies, and you need to do that in a more efficient way, Exchangelodge has packaged solutions to make that turnkey answer. Similarly, for those more sophisticated clients, we are enabling them a more DIY or do-it-yourself model, where our platform, the tools that underline all of our packaged solutions, are available for them to build their own data exchanges, for them to compile their own solutions to problems that they're facing. It's this two-pronged approach that is extraordinarily powerful, and we feel is really the catalyst to what we expect to be really explosive growth moving forward. So our positioning in the marketplace is relatively unique. We really have solutions that appeal to all segments of the marketplace. So when we think of the marketplace segmentation, there's really 3 areas. The first is general partners, right? Those that are the asset managers, those that are making investments. The second is limited partners, the investors into those funds. And then the third is service providers, whether it be the custodial banks, the fund administrators, the managed data service providers, those that are selling services to both limited partners and general partners. We actually have tools and solutions to help all three of those market segments. And actually today, Exchangelodge has clients in each of those market segments.
So Ian,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Sure, please.
At the risk of criticizing one of those segments, the service providers, is it fair to disavow that the people who are reporting the service providers are at risk because their data is not that clean?
Certainly. So I think, and this is a conversation that we talk a lot about with the service providers. It is no secret that the service provider community has a reputation for dissatisfied client base.
Yeah.
There is a significant amount of churn in the service provider community from one administrator to another, from one custodian to another. And a big reason is there's lack of trustworthiness of the information that they provide by their clients, right? And we actually,
allegedly that's their role, right?
not allegedly, wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And I think the issue is that it's hard, right? People outsource this because they don't want to do it, but it's very, very difficult. We have found, so we're partnering with some service providers already today, and we're talking to a number of additional ones. It's that segment that actually can benefit most from a solution like Exchangelodge, because what we do and what we talk to them about is we help them improve their service levels, improve their service offering. Not only can they do it in a more cost-effective way by leveraging technology instead of manpower, but the end result, which is information that they're providing, has increased accuracy, which increases the trustworthiness of their service, and therefore strengthening the relationship that they have with their clients. And so the service provider community is actually a core focus for us. They also operate at significant scale. And I think we recognize, while smaller firms receive tremendous benefit from Exchangelodge, and we've got some really great wins in case studies for mid-sized firms, what we also recognize is that the larger firms have more to gain from Exchangelodge, because they're spending so much energy and so many dollars with people around these operational tasks.
Yeah, and one other thing, just a point of clarification.
Sure.
This solution is focused around private markets. Is there public equity type integration in what you're doing, or is that just not part of it?
So it's not that it's not part of it. The challenges around private capital ecosystem are just significantly different than the public markets ecosystem.
Yeah.
And it's really, it can be boiled down to one word, which is standardization. The public markets industry is subject to regulatory environment and standards that the private capital industry is not.
Yeah.
And therefore, there is continuity and consistency, leading to a much smoother data workflow in that industry. While a lot of the problems that we speak of are present there, and we have an opportunity to expand there, when we think of our industry vertical movement, it's more about other unstandardized or non-standardized businesses, whether that be, and so we are starting focused in private equity and private capital in general, whether that be private debt or real estate. but there's the insurance industry, there's a tremendous amount of financial services industries and beyond that don't have the benefits that the public equity market has by having really defined, clear standards, right? So it's just not as big of a problem. And as an early stage company, we're very focused on remaining focused, leveraging our expertise and driving excellence in an area where there's tremendous growth opportunity. And the growth opportunity
totally makes sense.
Yeah, and the growth opportunity really is fueled by the growth in the industry and is exacerbated by the industry's lack of readiness for that growth. So when you look at Exchangelodge in our kind of go-to-market strategy, if you will, we have a very clear plan. And we have, since I've joined, have been executing on that plan. It's important to recognize Exchangelodge started the way many technology companies start, which is really in bespoke implementations. We had a very large client and we started leaning on our expertise to help them solve a problem. When I came on board, we quickly transitioned to what I call phase one here, which is these package solutions, which we've talked a lot about, these turnkey solutions. So today we're at a point where 80% of our revenue is generated in ARR, right? And so we've got recurring revenue being generated at almost $1 million a year out of these package solutions that have a very high, very short implementation life cycle and very high margin in terms of plug and play repeatability. We are at the same time building up the platform because what we think the real growth potential here is to not only be able to sell and market these out of the box solutions, but also these platform and tooling so clients will be able to build it themselves. We're already starting phase two, which is this implementation partners and resellers. We're partnered with folks like SteelBridge from an implementation perspective, but also folks like EY and other marketplace leaders that are recognizing this problem and realizing that instead of having to build it, they can partner with Exchangelodge and have faster, more effective outcomes for their clients. I think it's also important when we're thinking about growth and investment in private capital technology is to be aware of the marketplace. There has been a tremendous amount of activity in private equity and private capital technology recently. So as you can see on the screen here, there have been a number of transactions in the last, call it 36 months, by marketplace leaders getting into this space. So BlackRock, Vista, State Street, Blackstone, FactSet. These are family dinner table names that are all recognizing that this industry is growing and that this industry is one that needs to be taken seriously and are all investing in technology companies that are changing the way the private capital markets ecosystem is executed. We feel we are the next big wave. These solutions all focus on where the marketplace has been or is today. We are focusing on where the marketplace is going. I think everyone recognizes that data is at the heart of decision-making and is the heart of growth and company value. That is what we're focused on. And not only is it data oriented, it's also has a strong workflow and automation component that really mirrors both of those needs. So if we unpeel that a little bit and think about how Exchangelodge is unique, let's compare it a little bit to some alternatives. So I bring out here Mercatus, who was listed on the previous slide, which was recently acquired by State Street. Informatica, which is an industry-leading publicly traded data firm. IHS Markit, EDM, which is another specific firm that recently merged with S&P. And then Excel and Outlook, which is the de facto business tool, right? If you think about our competitors, more often than not, it's Excel and Outlook. What you'll see, however, is Excel and Outlook, its only real benefit is all the way on the bottom of this list, which is that there's broad adoption. First and foremost, Exchangelodge is purpose-built for the private capital markets industry. And so we are focused on people. We are ourselves practitioners and are experts and we have over 100 years of experience on our team, but we also bring the expertise of our clients. And so with that, we are then able to offer this very industry-specific data validation. We are very unique in that. If you think about data validation, there's this old adage in data analytics of garbage in, garbage out, right? So what we try to help is if you give me garbage, I help clean that garbage up so I don't send garbage out. And that's how you can really think of data validation. And our focus on data quality and integrations is truly unique. Additionally, we offer these out-of-the-box solutions. So if you're one of these firms that has only 4 people in your technology firm, you don't have the staff and the capacity to implement a complex system because you don't have that expertise, or do custom development because you have no one to manage that. Exchangelodge solves that for you. And we're also partnering with our clients in a very unique way. Since we're an early stage company, we enable our clients to have significant impact on our product delivery. We think it's a benefit because we're able to leverage their expertise, and they think it's a benefit because they're able to be dynamically involved in the development process. So where are we at today, right? We have, as you have heard, a really great foundation, but we're looking to grow that foundation, and we're looking to grow that foundation quickly because we know the time is now. And so we are raising a seed A round as a 1.5 million of a convertible note, and really looking to do 3 things with that money. One, we have to round out our leadership team. We have not completed, although we've hired some really great people and feel great about our team, we want to round out that team. We have to focus on marketing. To date, our growth has mainly been word of mouth, which is wonderful from our existing clients and existing relationships. But we recognize that this is an education-based sale. Because we're ahead of the market, where the marketplace is going, awareness is critical. And awareness through marketing and partnering with the marketplace is absolutely critical. And third, and certainly not last, is we're looking to increase our product development. Our product development is directly tied to some of our growth, and we're looking to get our platform as quickly as possible into the hands of our users.
So can we talk about company marketing in the context of the education sale? What are the metrics that get somebody over the finish line to cause them to say, okay, let's do this?
So from an ROI perspective, the metrics initially are typically time savings, and it's and efficiency. Not, and I mentioned them before. Really, it's 2 factors. One is timeliness of deliverables, right? I think what most of our clients very effectively recognize is my deliverables are late, and the reason they're late is because it takes me so much time and energy to cobble the information needed to present them. And that goes for client reporting, management reporting, regulatory reporting, and the like. And then the second thing is better use of time, reallocation of resources to higher value tasks. And so what we're doing, the way in which we're approaching those benefits from a marketing perspective is multifaceted. So one is content marketing, right? So marketing comes, SaaS marketing especially comes in a lot of varieties. So we are producing a lot of thought pieces and webinars and participating in events like roundtables and conferences to increase awareness of these challenges and the benefits of them. The other is direct marketing, right? So we've enabled technology to leverage direct marketing, and we've seen pretty significant adoption from the direct marketing through email campaigns with the content, right? Direct marketing email campaigns don't work without the industry specific content behind it that we really recognize will resonate with our user community. So our goal is to continue to invest in that content. It doesn't, right? It doesn't just happen.
Right. So to get somebody over the finish line, you can demonstrate anecdotally what you've done with others, the time savings and the allocation of that time savings to higher value activities and tasks.
Correct. And we often work with clients putting together ROI metrics collectively. Yeah. Right? Because what you can very clearly quantify from a time savings perspective is if it's costing you X per item today, and with Exchangelodge it costs you Y per item, what that delta is. Where it's more anecdotal is actually probably the bigger win for clients, which is the accuracy and trustworthiness of the data. It is very, very difficult for any firm to quantify how much time they spend checking, rechecking, and rechecking and rechecking the information that are in their reports and in their information. Yeah. I think everyone feels that. Everybody feels that I get a report and it just doesn't look right. And so then I give it back to my analyst. And my analyst has to pull out their hair, figuring out where along the way the data went wrong. And ultimately, typically, it's all the way back in some shrouded dark room. We help eliminate that problem. That, to be honest, is difficult to quantify. But I think where we found getting people over the finish line, there's just this innate trust and knowledge that, yes, we're wasting a ton of time doing that. And so with the balance of that quantitative measure from an efficiency perspective and qualitative measure from an accuracy perspective, we're able to win the day.
And what kind of, and I'm asking these questions for intellectual curiosity, but also in the context of, winning customers translates to revenue, translates to better performance as an investor for my investment, right? So what if anything have you encountered in terms of pushbacks? Like, is it adoption curve, too daunting to undertake? What, incumbent thinking, somebody trying to make sure they keep their job?
Yeah, so there's no question people are at a varied level of willingness to change, right? We are, as change enablers or change catalysts, you have different, you're going to be received in different ways, right? So if you think of what our hurdles are, one is willingness to change. I've always done it this way. It works for me. Why change? And that's not, I don't think we're unique in that. Anyone coming into an industry who's steeped in practices and trying to change that has tackled that. The other is kind of, if you think about our competitive alternatives, we have some like are probably our most, other than doing what you're doing today, our probably most significant competitive alternative is I'm just going to build this myself. People think they can just build this themselves, and what they wind up recognizing is that it becomes extraordinarily expensive, extraordinarily long, and extraordinarily difficult to manage over time, custom development, because many firms are not in a position to do it successfully. I was at a firm where I was doing it successfully for years, and we still chose to partner with Exchangelodge because we recognized we couldn't do it as effectively or as fast as Exchangelodge could do it.
And that was like the typical situation where hiring that talent just is not going to happen. And
it's not about hiring talent as much as it is competing priorities. Well, so if I'm an asset manager and I have a small, or if I'm a family office or multifamily office or an institutional LP, my technology budget and technology resources are just scarce. And there's a million places that I can throw talent at, right? And so it really becomes a talent allocation question in a lot of ways, right? In that regard, because if I can partner with a firm like Exchangelodge, that's a much better answer for me than taking this scarce resource, which is my technology talent, and building something by myself, right? Because I'm able to throw them where there's more competitive advantage. The thing about, and this is the thing about Exchangelodge, we operate in this space that is critical to the success of a business, to their success, but it's not necessarily immediately differentiating, right? What's immediately differentiating is what you do with the data that what's truly differentiating is what you do with the data that we can provide for you. So what winds up happening is if you can't effectively achieve the building block that we're trying to make available, you spend all your time doing that because it's so foundational, and you've got no time to spend on the differentiating work. And what we're doing is we're simplifying, automating, and digitizing the foundational work so that limited resource can focus on the differentiating.
yeah, do something good with the data.
Right. So if you spend all your time just gathering and validating the data, what are you going to do? That's that whole comment of data laborers versus data managers and analysts.
And as it relates to the raise, I don't even know if this is, I'm just guessing, because it's going to sound like I know some information, but I don't. Is the current investors also in this round?
Yes. So we've had great interest from our current investor base, and to be honest, we're also looking to bring in some new investor into the community. We're looking to continue to grow. It's important to fulfill our current investor base, but also to grow relationships and expand our relationships. So to be totally honest, we're waiting to understand the appetite from this community and some from other opportunities that we have, and taming the existing investor appetite until we have recognized that. We're very close to being able to fulfill this. We're also looking to use this, as I mentioned, as really a catalyst for growth into the end of this year and into next year.
Yeah, and it's pretty common knowledge that a successful identification of a family office investor comes along with other family offices and or business development opportunities. So spreading the allocation of this round around is likely to help.
Exactly. And I think this, when you think about the business development and kind of strategic partnerships with family office community, it's particularly interesting because the family office investor can directly benefit from Exchangelodge. Many family offices have a wide portfolio of private investments, and most likely, and maybe not the investment folks that we have today, but I assure you the operational folks that are supporting the folks on the call today feel much of the pain that we've been discussing.
Yeah. Yeah, we're firsthand painfully aware of that, of that sort of frustration of the people that are responsible for developing the data to report back. And sometimes it's, what do you mean it's not right? Right. Well, how can it not be right? Yeah, it's a little frustrating, right? So
Certainly.
what's the next step after CA?
So as we know, this is a convertible note. And so what we're looking to do is looking to raise the qualified financing associated with this valuation cap as a subsequent round next year. I think the reason we've chosen to do a convertible note is this time is we are in this growth stage. We have an extraordinary pipeline right now. And as we have discussed, we appreciate that there is an education-based sale and a bit of a lengthy sales cycle, and we are reaching the end of some critical sales processes that we really think are going to change the trajectory of Exchangelodge. And so the idea is to leverage this round to get us to recognize that pipeline, to begin to invest in this growth that we talk about in terms of product development and marketing, and then raise a subsequent round to really then accelerate that growth to meet the market expansion opportunities that we talk about in our growth strategy.
And reward the early investors with a discount in the next round, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I mean, the idea is we recognize that we're asking for, there's a huge advantage of being in early, but there's also that additional risk. And so right. It's important to recognize the truth is this is really the first time we're going to market with Exchangelodge. Exchangelodge has really been founded to date by the founders and friends and family of that founders with a one strategic partner with Allegheny Financial. But it's been really important to recognize this is extraordinarily early still in Exchangelodge's life. And there have been tremendous outcomes for early stage investors in this space. And we're very well positioned to be the next one. We are a bunch of industry veterans who have been in this industry and understand this industry. We're not a set of young professionals who think they understand the problems. We have been there and done that in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. What is the multiple these days, and has it suffered as a result of the pullback of all these VCs and that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I'm probably not the best person to answer that question. Yeah. Right. Probably a VC investor would be the best. I think, I still think you're seeing anywhere from 8 to 12x range of ARR, right? Yeah. I think that ARR is still probably the most significant metric when you're thinking about SaaS multiples. Yeah. And I think there is still a range. You're still seeing the extraordinary ranges, right? I mean, this is a different industry, but Adobe just bought a company for $20 billion. Figma,
it's crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just know Figma because I'm a user of Figma.
Right.
So that's extraordinary multiples that are still in the marketplace. So I think it's really still unique case by case basis. I think there's no question the flow of VC dollars has slowed. That's not debatable. That's kind of fact right now. But I think the individual multiples, you're still seeing a pretty broad range.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, super exciting. Can you tell us a little bit before we wrap up about, to the extent that you can disclose, even if it's anonymous, the couple of the prime candidates at the end of the sales cycle in the pipeline? Sure.
Yeah, so we hit on the concepts of them throughout this conversation. The first is the service provider community. So we just signed one of the largest private equity administrators in the world. We haven't been able to disclose them yet, but they have, I think, 900 billion. They're approaching $1 trillion in AUM. And we're close on a couple others, I think. And so as we've talked about, the service provider community is significant. We also are very close on some of the world's largest, some of the additional largest fund of funds in the world. So it is important to recognize that some of our early biggest clients are private equity fund of funds, which have been tremendous clients for us. Because if you think about fund of funds, they encapsulate the needs of both the general partners, because they are asset managers and are investing both in funds, but often in co-investments and secondaries, and are serving LPs. So they're investors and they are investors where they invest in things, but they're also the LPs for the large GPs. So they've been able to fulfill a tremendous amount of expertise in our solutions. And so we've gotten tremendous traction in that space. We're also about to launch a new product specifically focused on GPs and have some very promising early conversations, really focused upon GP workflows and the life cycle of a fund from inception through the capital raise structure to the ongoing monitoring and reporting of that.
Yeah, so implement your tech at the onset, so you're not taking all your spreadsheets and throwing it into your program, right?
So if I'm raising capital, if I'm raising fund 4, start with a clean slate on fund 4.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Is it fair to ask how far along you are at in this round? And I know that you're tempering the interest of the existing investors, but are you, 20% in, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so we're north of 50. We are potentially looking to extend this depending upon total appetite a bit. I don't want to have to do another interim round. And so this is a teeter-totter of a game, as I'm sure everyone on the phone is well aware of. We've gotten, so in September, we got a significant amount of interest. So we are seeing, based on your earlier question, interest reignite a bit, right? And we've actually closed some really critical investing in September.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Ian, this has been super helpful. Really appreciate it. Nice job explaining a rather arcane subject, even though we have, real life anecdotal pain points that we've experienced. Its complexity is clear.
I appreciate you hosting, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to everybody on the call here that I maybe haven't been able to answer some of their questions directly today, but look forward to that opportunity.
Yeah, you'll have the opportunity for sure. So we'll make sure everybody gets in touch with Ian, and we'll put the recording up. And super appreciate you doing this today, Ian, and Tim bringing this to our attention, and the community appreciates for sure. So as I always say, thank you all for spending the only thing you can't make more of, and that's your time with us today. So till next time, thanks, Ian.
Thanks, Arthur. Take care.
Bye-bye.